Grammar time, grammar time, grammar time, grammar time. You ready? You're sick of my humor. Guess what? This is the last page of this packet. So exciting. So let's get on it. All right. Lesson 7 of Chapter 5, Avoiding Double Negatives. A negative word is a word that implies that something does not exist or happen. Common negative words: barely, hardly, neither, never, no, nobody, none, no one, not, nothing, nowhere, scarcely, can't, don't, hasn't. If two negative words are used where only one is needed, the result is a double negative. Avoid double negatives in your speaking and writing. Non-standard. I haven't never tasted artichokes. The problem exists right here. Haven't, never. Haven't, never, both negatives. The standard way of saying that would be, I haven't ever tasted artichokes, or I have never tasted artichokes. Let's recognize the correct use of negatives. Section A. Circle the letter of the sentence from each pair that uses negatives correctly. Number 1A. We didn't have no fresh milk in the house. Didn't, no. That's a double negative. That one doesn't work, so we know B is right. And we're not going to just skip on to number 2 right now. We're going to actually read the correct model of letter B so that you know. We didn't have any fresh milk in the house. Number 2A, we didn't have any idea where the pasta was stored. I don't really hear anything troublesome there. Let's go on to 2B. We didn't have no idea where the pasta was stored. Didn't, no. Double negative. We know it's not that one. The correct one is 2A. Number 3A, I can't hardly boil water without burning it. Can't, hardly, double negative. Letter B, I can hardly boil water without burning it. That is the correct use. Number 4A, no one knew anything about making any meals except sandwiches. No one knew anything. That doesn't sound wrong to me. I don't see a double negative. Let's check 4B just in case we need to go back and hunt for something a little harder in A. No one knew nothing. No one knew nothing about making any meals except sandwiches. Double negative. It's definitely not B. We were right when we thought A was correct. Letter B. Avoid double negatives. Underline the word in parentheses that correctly completes each sentence. There wasn't nothing ready for the evening meal. There wasn't anything ready for the evening meal when my brother and I came home yesterday. Wasn't is negative. Nothing is negative. We know it's not that. It is anything. Number 2, my mom hadn't hardly walked in the door before we started asking her, what's for dinner? Hadn't is a negative and hardly is a negative, so we can't use hadn't. We need to use had. My mom had hardly walked in the door before we started asking what was for dinner. Number 3, neither of us had ever. Neither of us had never. Neither is a negative, so we can't use never. We have to use ever. Neither of us had ever done any cooking before. Number 4, Mom said, you aren't never going to learn to cook if you don't start sometime. Aren't is a negative. Never is a negative. We cannot use never. Mom said, you aren't ever going to learn to cook if you don't start sometime. How about now? Ever is the correct word. Number 5, you can't find this recipe anywhere. You can't find this recipe nowhere in that cookbook. Can't is our negative. Nowhere is a negative. We cannot correctly use nowhere. It's anywhere. The sentence would read, you can't find this recipe anywhere in that cookbook, she said. Number 6, in scarcely, remember from our above parts of this worksheet, scarcely is a negative. Scarcely no, we can't use no because that would be a double negative, 2 of them in a row. In scarcely any time, she had assembled the needed ingredients. Number 7, no one, there's your negative, shouldn't feel helpless. No one shouldn't. Shouldn't is a negative. You can't use it in connection with no one. You have to use should. No one should feel helpless in the kitchen, she said, as she told us what to do. Number 8, no one could have given us no better gift than that cooking lesson. Here's our negative, and no is a negative. We can't use no. We have to use any. The sentence will read, no one could have given us any better gift than that cooking lesson. Woohoo! Last page of the grammar packet, page 122, avoiding double negatives. We're going to circle the correct modifier in each sentence. Number 1, haven't you never or ever eaten rattlesnake tail? Haven't you ever? Our negative is haven't, so we can't use never. Number 2, it's a delicacy that hardly anybody I know has enjoyed lately. Hardly is your negative word, so you can't use nobody, you have to use anybody. Number 3, but that dish isn't anywhere, but that dish isn't nowhere. Isn't is your negative word, so you cannot use nowhere, you have to use anywhere. But that dish isn't anywhere near as strange as the food some people eat. Number 4, I'll bet you haven't tried neither or either rats or skunks for dinner. Haven't is your negative, so that means you can't use neither. You have to use either. Number 5, most people wouldn't eat no insects, at least knowingly, unless you're on a season of Survivor. Most people wouldn't eat any insects, at least knowingly. Wouldn't is your negative, so we know we can't use no. We use any. Number 6, don't be sure there aren't any insect parts in your food, though. Some are allowed in hot dogs. Don't be sure there aren't no insect parts. Here's our negative. We know then we can't use no. That would be a double negative. We need any. Number 7, I can't hardly imagine. Remember, hardly is a negative, so that means we can't use can't. We have to use can, and the sentence would read, I can hardly imagine eating bird's nest soup made from the saliva of little birds called swifts. Number 8, I haven't never eaten fish for breakfast as people in Japan do. I haven't ever eaten fish for breakfast as people in Japan do. I haven't is your negative, means we automatically exclude never, it's not an option, and we use ever. I haven't ever eaten fish for breakfast as people in Japan do. Number 9, I don't care how hungry I am. Nobody couldn't make me eat beetles. Nobody could make me eat beetles. I don't care how hungry I am. Nobody is your negative, so that means you can't use couldn't, and you have to use could. Let's go on to B, avoiding double negatives. Rewrite each sentence to avoid double negatives. I don't want you to rewrite the sentence. We can just make some corrections. We couldn't find nobody to care for our cat while we were on vacation. We couldn't find anybody. Number 2, our dog doesn't eat no food unless someone keeps it company. We have a negative here and we have a negative here. Our dog doesn't eat any food. That would be a better choice. Number 3, the driver couldn't scarcely see the road through the heavy rain. So here we have a negative of couldn't and a negative of scarcely. One of them has to go. The driver could scarcely see. So we're going to change couldn't to could. The driver could scarcely see the road through the heavy rain. Number 4, I haven't seen neither of your neighbors today. Haven't is a negative, neither is a negative. So you can change that sentence. I haven't seen either of your neighbors today. And if we were in class, I'd see if you came up with a different option. Number 5, why can't I never get past this level in the computer game? Why can't I ever get past this level in the computer game? So number 5, can't is your negative and never is a negative. You can't use both. Number 6, the librarian can't find nothing about my topic in his reference books. Can't is our negative, nothing is our negative. We need to change that. The librarian can find nothing about my topic in his reference books. That will work. We could say can find nothing. Or another option could be the librarian can't find anything. So you got 2 options there. The librarian can find nothing about my topic in his reference books, or the librarian can't find anything about my topic in his reference books. All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.